Hello everyone and welcome to a very special week. My name is Abraham Leal in case you guys are new to the channel, and for those of you that are our very loyal viewers, welcome to another very special Halloween week. Throughout this week, I'm gonna be working on 5 different projects. It's gonna be 1 project per day. Maybe we'll even expand that to 7 different projects, depending if I have time to record for the next weekend. But I guarantee there's gonna be 5 projects throughout this week. And I know that it's not Halloween yet. It's gonna be on the it's the 31st, right? I always confuse it. I'm always confused whether it's the 30th or the 31st. But most of the Halloween parties are gonna be going this next weekend, this upcoming weekend. So yeah, we're gonna have exercises. We're gonna have like speed sculpting, a little bit of modeling. I wanna change things a little bit. Last year we did a like speed challenge throughout the week, and I sculpted 5 of the classic monsters. We randomly drew the monsters and we sculpted them from scratch inside of ZBrush. This time around, I want to make this content a little bit more beginner friendly, especially if you're trying to learn a new software. So for each day of the week, I'm going to be showing basic tools and principles on 5 different softwares. We're going to kick things off with a ZBrush, and then we're going to have a Maya class, we're going to have a Marvelous Designer class, we're going to have a Blender class, and we're gonna have a SpeedTree class, which I think that one a lot of people are gonna really like. That one's gonna be fun. So yeah, that's pretty much it in regards for the week. Let me know what you think in the comments, and before we get into it, a couple of extra announcements. This is also the final week for your for the weapon design contest. Okay, we're gonna have the submissions. Let me change the screens. Oh, by the way, can you hear the little like spooky music on the background? It's just to get in the mood, because I couldn't change the lighting setup here at the studio as easily as last year. So yeah, today is Sunday. I'm recording this on a Sunday, and we're gonna be having our final submission on the 31st of October. I'll let you know, I'll let you guys know about the submission in the next couple of days, and I'm gonna be reminding you guys, because I know some people miss a video every now and then. That's fine. I'm gonna be reminding you because the submissions will open in the next coming days, and they will end on the 31st. I'm thinking about it's either going to be through Google Drive, as was done before, or it's going to be directly through email, to make sure that no one can like interfere or move or like change anything in the submissions for it. And I'm happy to announce that we already have the prizes. We are going to have a 1 like grand prize winner, and we're going to have 3 runner-ups. Okay, or I think that's the proper way to say runner-ups. So finalists, if you wish. So the grand prize winner is going to be a $100 Amazon gift card for Amazon in your country. If you're in the United States, it's $100 for the United States. If you're in India, in the UK, it doesn't matter. As long as Amazon is available in your country, we're going to get you a 100 gift card so that you can get whatever you need for your computer. If you want to buy a game, if you want to save for something bigger, $100 free of charge. You just need to submit, and if you're the lucky winner, if we find that your weapon design was the most interesting one, the best execution, or the most interesting execution, that's going to be the winner. And then we're going to have 3 runner-ups, 3 finalists that we think are going to have a great or are going to be submitting a great file or a great render. Remember, we need to submit a render. If you want to check the submissions guidelines, they are already in a video a couple of weeks ago, but I'm going to be reminding you as well in the next coming days. And yeah, those 3 runner-ups are gonna be granted access to a free premium course of their choice. So this is completely free. You don't need to pay anything. You just need to do your work. Hopefully you guys have been working on your weapons for the last couple of weeks, so that you don't have to do everything in 1 week. But yeah, feel free to submit. Again, I'll show you, or I'll tell you about the submission link very soon. Make sure you finish your stuff in the next couple of days so that you can submit as soon as the site is open. And that's pretty much it. Just before we begin, because once we start sculpting, I'm just gonna go straight to it. I'm gonna try to again speed sculpt this. I'm gonna give myself 30 minutes to get as far or as close as possible to the final result. And yeah, but before that, remember that if you want to learn 3D through any of our courses, we do have this very cool Skillshare promotion. Hey guys, Abraham here. I just wanted to remind you guys that we upload all of our courses to Skillshare. Skillshare is this amazing site where you can access a ton of different content to learn, improve, and grow as an artist. We have all of our courses available to watch and learn from right now in Skillshare. You can check the description down here, and Skillshare is offering 1 free month trial to their premium membership. With this membership, you're going to be able to access all of our courses and watch and learn all of the amazing things that we cover with all of the softwares. So what are you waiting for? Check Skillshare down here below. There we go. So we're inside of ZBrush, and as I mentioned, we're going to be working today with ZBrush, and the project that we're going to be doing, it's a jack-o'-lantern, a very, very typical asset. I'm going to try to make sure that the things that we're going to be doing, especially if you want to learn the basics of a new software, are very approachable to anyone that wants to get into this sort of stuff. So we're going to be doing a jack-o'-lantern, very classical, like Halloween thing. And to do this, we first need to do a pumpkin, right? Because once we have the pumpkin, we're going to be able to change things around. Now, I do want to make the jack-o'-lantern a little bit stylized. I don't want to be like super realistic. So I'm going to go for like a pumpkin that has a little bit of a weird shape, I think. I mean, we can, of course, start with the normal shape and then jump into a weird shape. But this one, for instance, very, very cool. So how would we go about starting something like this? Well, Dynamesh is usually the way to go. I'm going to double click this sphere right here. We're going to create this Dynamesh sphere, and I'm going to use my move brush. VMV is the shortcut to start giving this thing the shape. I'm going to move it to the side so that I can see it. It's always good to have a reference. We could also use PureRef, by the way. Actually, let's use PureRef so you guys can also see it. I know this is taking a little bit of time from my there we go. So PureRef, for those of you that are aware of the software, it's an amazing software that you can like snap on top of everything else, and that way you can have it here. Some people like to use a spotlight inside of ZBrush. I don't. But yeah, there we go. So I'm going to use my move brush, and this is going to be the front. I think this is like actually, no, let's keep this. I like the front. So I'm just going to start like modifying. I'm going to turn off perspective. I don't like working with perspective. And we're going to start like moving the volume around so that we can create the sort of like pumpkin looking shape. I'm pressing X right there to get rid of the symmetry so that we can start giving this pumpkin this sort of weird, interesting curvature that we have here on the front. I'm gonna push this thing a little bit higher. I'm gonna make the brush a little bit smaller. And there we go. Speed sculpting, I never recommend speed sculpting for like your actual portfolios, but it's a really good way to get fast at a software. So if you are already quite proficient at the software and you want to try speed sculpting or speed modeling or speed whatever, it's really good to get fast at it so that when you're doing a job, you can spend less time worrying about the tools and more time worrying about the result. I'm gonna go here with where the thingy is, a stem. So I think the stem is the proper word. We're gonna go right there. That's gonna be like the initial element. I'm gonna start softening up because as you can see, things are looking a little bit weird. I'm actually gonna change the little sphere there to alpha 6, which is a little bit softer, and we can already start like planning out where we want like the main shapes to go. I'm actually gonna go with Damien Standard for this one, BDS, and we're gonna go all the way down. We're gonna have another one go here. We're gonna clean this up, don't worry. Just a sketch, right? Right now we're just sketching the main forms of our element. Let's go over there. I really like this lo-fi stuff. There we go. Now I am thinking about doing this a little bit more like stylized for like a hand-painted game like World of Warcraft, stuff like that. And therefore, I'm not going to go with all of the lines. I'm going to keep the lines a little bit softer, if you wish. A little more cartoonish. There we go. I think that one looks good. Let's do one more here. That area is like really, really big. Same for this one. We can divide that once again. And maybe this one. Actually thinking like maybe adding the extra line on some of them might be a good idea. Like the center line is not going to be as deep as the main line. It's not a bad idea to add it, right? Go. Let's do one right here. Perfect. Now what we need to do is we need to make sure that things look like fluffy or not fluffy, like they're actually like pushing on the respective like areas, right? I'm gonna Dynamesh this real quick to get a new effect, and then with Clay Buildup, as you guys know, I love this brush. We're gonna start building up this sort of roundness to the sections. And as you can see, the trace that we're using, or the sort of I think that's the proper word for it. The shape of the brush, it's already helping us to create this really interesting effect. I'm gonna use Trim Dynamic. Trim Dynamic is really good to flatten or kind of like erase a couple of things without modifying elements too much. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. There we go. And one of the tricky parts about this specific, let's call it this a specific exercise, is that we're doing this asymmetrical, right? So that means that we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to work on two parts at the same time, or all of the areas of the element at the same time, which is fine. You also, I also recommend, if you're already familiar with ZBrush, try doing asymmetrical stuff, because you're gonna get better at the software as well. And not only at the software, you're gonna get better at sculpting. So here's just about this thing right here. Now, some of you, no, I'm not saying like you guys exactly, but some people like to change the color, for instance. It's a good idea. You can just like literally, no, I thought we can sample it. We can sample if it's what's the word, inside of ZBrush, but not if it's outside. There we go. You can go like this material that I have. It's a weird one actually. Let's go. There we go. I like this one a little bit better. Nice. I've actually been struggling a little bit with my display tablet because I feel a little bit more comfortable looking at the screen right there. I've worked, well, earlier this year I got my pen display, but before that I've been working with like a traditional Wacom tablet for like 10 years literally. So I'm more used to working directly with me seeing the screen rather than the tablet. It's fun. There we go. You don't need a display tablet, by the way, to sculpt. Like I do see a slight little advantage in a couple of things, but nothing major. There we go. Cool. Let's add the little stem. So I'm gonna go subtools, append, and we're gonna append a cylinder. I'm gonna make the cylinder smaller, like this. And let's Dynamesh already. Let's move this here. It's also gonna be like asymmetrical. And I've seen that sometimes the stems are a little bit like wider on the base. I'm gonna change the color. So I'm gonna say something like this, color, and then move this. I'm gonna have it right here. I'm gonna say color, fill object, and what this will do is it will paint the object the other color that we have. There we go. So here I'm gonna push this like this. And it tends to, as you can see, it's kind of like a bark thing. It's of course the thing that connects to the pumpkin. Is it a fruit? Is a pumpkin a fruit? Has anyone like harvested or planted pumpkins? That'd be cool. If you have, let me know in the comments. I think it's a vegetable, right? I think it's a vegetable. I think fruits come from flowers, and I don't think there's a flower for a pumpkin. Actually, is there? I don't know. One of the things that we could do a little bit of research of. There we go. That looks interesting. And I like the fact that if we create this thing like this, especially if we give it a little bit more curvature, we have this sort of like play, right, with the stem going to one direction and the pumpkin going to the other, so they kind of like balance each other out, and they can give us an interesting effect. I'm gonna increase or thicken this thing a little bit over here. Because there's usually like a crown on the pumpkins. I'm not sure if that's the proper like terminology for it, but I remember cutting pumpkins and or just buying pumpkins, and the stem is usually like weirdly shaped. It's not like perfectly shaped. There we go. It's a little bit more creepy looking. Now there's one thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to materials. And I'm gonna go to the modifiers, and I'm gonna increase the ambient of the material quite a bit. The ambient is just like general light that's hitting the scene, and because it was just a little bit too dark to really see what was going on, especially with these things right here. We're definitely gonna increase the resolution. When that happens, a very, very common thing to happen, you're gonna go to geometry, and you're gonna go here to weld points and close holes. And when you do that, as you can see, that pretty much fixes it. And you're gonna be able to work around. That's when Dynamesh doesn't really know how to like Dynamesh things properly, and it'll try to do like the best it can, and it creates that sort of like webbing, really weird thing, really weird effect. So again, here with my clay buildup, just creating this striping lines. We can later go with like the mini standard and just like carve some like thicker effects right there to give a little bit more of a sculpted look. Now, I know I tend to move fast. I'm not saying I'm the fastest like sculptor out there. I don't think I've seen people do amazing stuff. But throughout the years, teaching has pretty much given me this sort of like speed, because I can't really spend as much time doing something and not letting students try their hand at it, because it would be a very, very boring class. So I need to show very quickly how to do things. I'm not saying you have to. So if you have a little bit more time available for yourself and you want to try this exercise, take your time. Don't worry, just take your time. There we go. Now this guy, we're also going to increase the dynamic resolution, and we can go with our Damien standard and we can start adding a couple of the extra lines. Sometimes there's like little damages and stuff here on the pumpkin. Like the skin is not perfect, right? Like we're gonna have a little bit of everything here, and adding this sort of like variation. I call this organic variation. It's gonna make our sculpture way better. Let's go down here. I know we're not always gonna be seeing this sort of stuff, right? But it's not a bad idea to just sculpt a little bit there. There's usually like a little, like the butt. In Spanish we call it the asterisk. It's a little bit of a vulgar way to call it. You guys know what I'm talking about. So we're just gonna go here, and we're just gonna keep adding a little bit of this. Again, this sort of like visual, you guys know one of my favorite words, right? Like visual interest. We want things to be visually interesting, and that means changing the way the surface looks. It's kind of like texturing. It's not like exactly texturing, right? It's kind of like texturing, and we're adding this sort of like big frequency, like secondary and tertiary details to make things look a little bit more interesting. If you do a little bit too much, just go back with the soft clay buildup, as you can see right there, and you can create a very cool looking texture very fast. I was actually thinking about showing you how to scan a real pumpkin. I was gonna go to the supermarket and buy a big pumpkin, but then I thought, what the hell am I gonna do with a big pumpkin? We don't have a big oven, so it's not like we can do like pumpkin pie or anything. So yeah, it was unfortunately not an option. But you can definitely go out and scan a pumpkin and do it your own. Very well. So we have the pumpkin. Looks, I would say, good enough. How long have we spent on this? I would say, like, if we want to complete this challenge, we should spend like 10 minutes on the basic sculpt, which we just did. And now I'm gonna spend about 10 minutes on the face creation, and then we're gonna jump with the what's the word? We're gonna do the detailing and stuff, like high frequency detail. So we got this. I like this. I like this sort of like big head on this side and just like the general movement. So to create the inside and be able to actually make this a jack-o'-lantern, we actually need to carve the pumpkin, right? Now, usually, if we take a look at jack-o'-lanterns, they usually cut the top part of the pumpkin, and then they place like a candle, or they actually like cut, as you can see, like the little head, right, of the pumpkin. So let's do that. Let's try that ourselves. And but before we do that, I would like to create the hollow section of the pumpkin. So I'm gonna go to subtools, and I'm gonna turn off the little stem right there, so we only focus on this guy. I'm gonna say append, and I'm actually just gonna grab this guy right here and duplicate it. And then I'm gonna turn on a transparency right here to see where it is. And when we make it smaller, as you can see, we can create the cavity of the pumpkin. Now, we don't need the inside of the pumpkin to be as detailed as the outside. We can save ourselves quite a bit of polygons. So I'm gonna lower this to like 64, and we're gonna dynamesh that one. And then I'm even gonna go with like smooth brush to just create like the cavity of the pumpkin. That way we can keep or have thinner walls, as you can see right there. And it's not gonna be like a super thick pumpkin. A little bit less, something like that. And we're going to use, of course, Live Booleans. Live Booleans is a very cool tool that we have here inside of ZBrush that creates Booleans on our elements. So I'm going to turn on Live Boolean, and I'm going to say negative. And if we were to turn off transparency, we're pretty much like, we're not really going to see anything, which is fine. Because if we were to say over here, make Boolean mesh. So Boolean, make Boolean mesh. Up here, we're going to get a new tool, which is the U-mesh, and this thing is hollow on the inside. How do I know it's hollow? Because if I were to hide half of it, we should see, hey, we should see the inside. Let's double this. Oh, okay, weird. It didn't work as I expected. It should though. It should have happened. Okay, so if this didn't work, I'm gonna do something a little bit extreme here. Okay, let's try this again because it was turned off. Maybe it's because of that. Make Boolean mesh. U-mesh. There we go. Now you can see there's a inside to the thing. So I'm gonna press Control Shift, and we're gonna go to one of the tools that we have right here, which is the what's the word? The knife lasso. Is it the knife lasso the one that I want? Now let's do select lasso. Let's do select lasso. I'm gonna use select lasso, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna carve in the little thing that you will normally like carve out of the element. I'm gonna make sure that I go really in, because I want to hit that lower like wall. So hopefully, there we go. That should be enough. So now that we have this, I'm gonna press Control W to group this together. I'm gonna press Control W on this one to group it together. And if we bring both of them together, what I mean by grouping is the polygroups. So now both of those like faces, inside and outside, have a different face. And then if we go to polygroups and we say groups, high resolution, of course, let's do 600, and we do Dynamesh. Since we have groups turned on, we should be able to get this thing right here, as you can see, and we should be able to get this thing right here. Now, unfortunately, this thing right here got like refilled, right, with the mask that we have, which is fine. We can use this. The most important one that I wanted was this top piece right here. So what I'm gonna do, as you can see, we have this PM3D, which is the inside, and if we go back here, what I can say is I can go split, group split, get like the top part and the bottom part in two different subtools. Let's turn this guy off for just a second, and I'm gonna say append, and we're gonna append that polymesh 3D, which is the inside of the pumpkin. Let's bring it up a little bit there. There we go. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna again use like booleans to create this thing right here. So I'm gonna make boolean, make boolean mesh. And there we go. This new boolean mesh is the actual like pumpkin. I can go again to 600, Dynamesh. This is now a new Dynamesh. And as you guys know, I don't like having this like sharp borders. So I'm gonna go with my smooth brush and with my trim dynamic to fix these borders right here. Give them a more of a carved look. This is for a lot of different reasons I do this. One, because I don't like having sharp borders. Two, because if I were to Dynamesh or ZRemesh this or retopologize this thing for like a game asset, those sharp edges bake really badly. So you always want to have a little bit of a bevel edge. Makes things a lot easier. Dynamesh real quick. 3, it makes a more realistic looking pumpkin, right? Because it looks like we actually carved in with like a knife or something. I've never done this, by the way. I might try this. Probably not this year, but maybe next year. I'm sure it's gonna be, it will be like a fun exercise to do some pumpkin carving. I know some friends of mine have done it. I know it's more common in the US. Again, it has to be a fun activity, right? So there we go. It doesn't have to be perfect because again, it's gonna be covered by the lid of the pumpkin. Again, just want to make sure that there's no like weird polygons or anything. Cool. And if you remember, in this one, we already have the cap, which is this one right here. So I'm gonna turn this guys off. I'm gonna go back to this one, and I'm just gonna say append. And I'm gonna append the cap. There we go. And we can even go to the first one, which is this one right here. No, where is it? Where's our? There we go. To the stem. We go back to this guy right here, and we can say append. And now this is our new subtool. We haven't saved. I'm actually gonna do a quick save, just to make sure that we don't lose anything. And this one we need to fix. Let's dynamic solo Dynamesh. It's already Dynamesh. Cool. So especially again the border, it's the one that I want to fix a little bit. Very carefully here, going around the edge of the elements. There we go. Going with a stronger trim dynamic. So you can see this is where things slow down a little bit because we need to be a little bit more careful about how we approach the process, right? It's where a lot of people get like frustrated or impatient and they just want to rush the thing And I mean, right now, since we're doing a speed sculpt, then yeah, we definitely need to rush a little bit, but we need to rush in a smart kind of way. Okay. Almost there. Those borders are always the difficult ones. If that happens to you, another option is the inflate brush. If you inflate super thin borders like what we have right here, that also helps solve the issue. Because that's what we want, right? Careful there. Very common thing to happen with the inflate. It's just a well points and close holes. There we go. There we go. Now all of this like lower part right here, I'm just gonna be very aggressive with my trim dynamic and push it so that it goes like flush with the rest of the elements. Since we're never gonna really be seeing it, Dynamesh. And there we go. As you can see, certain pieces might have like separated a little bit more than what we might want. That's fine. I actually think that might be a good like defect because it's gonna make it obvious where the cut is. We just might want to push them a little bit closer. Right? So that it matches the general shape of the thing. There we go. Cool. I've talked about silhouette quite a bit, right? How having those little things that are one on top of the others is always a good idea or a good way to create an interesting effect. And there we go. That's 10 minutes. We got the base shape, and I think it's looking quite nice. This is the front, right? Yeah. Okay, let me just a little bit of the mood brush there again to do the thing I was just mentioning about the silhouette, like a little bit of overlap thing on top of the other, which again is gonna make the whole thing more interesting. If we do a quick render right here, you're gonna see how those like little like changes in the format, this will make it look way more interesting. So now for the eyes. The eyes. I'm gonna show you a new technique. I think you guys are gonna like this one. I'm gonna go to a plane actually. Let's move this again. So we're gonna go here. Let's grab a plane, and I'm gonna make this plane a polymesh 3D. I'm gonna divide this several times, and then I'm gonna go to subtool, and I'm gonna say delete lower, so we don't have any of the subdivisions. And why do I do this? Because here's where I'm gonna sketch the face, and there's a lot of different faces as you can see right here. I'm gonna take inspiration. Should we go what, like creepy looking? Should we go happy looking? Hopefully you guys are not answering to the screen like Dora the Explorer. But let's go for something slightly just like creepy or something. Like I think something like this looks pretty cool. So what I'm gonna do, it's because we need the shape of the, what's the word? We need the shape of the face over here. I'm gonna create the mask. So for instance, has like a really big smile like this, and I'm using masking, which is, I know, kind of like weird, right, to be using, but I'm using masking because what I want to create is I want to create kind of like a punch tool to just like cut through with this thing into the pumpkin. Yeah, I start kind of like this. Little bit of like a nose. Yeah, like this. Of course, we're gonna do a little bit of sculpting. Hopefully we'll get enough time in this like challenge that we have right now. And then the mouth, really cool looking. I'm gonna make my brush even smaller. We have the teeth. As you can see, what is remaining of the mask is the shape that we're going to be punching through the pumpkin. So we're kind of like drawing the negative side of things, if you wish. Being a little bit what's the word? Dirty in this thing, so I'm not being as precise as I might want. give us a nice result. And that one looks a little bit weird. Just one there. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way down here to masking. I'm going to say sharpen mask to make sure we have a really, really clean mask. And that's going to also show me where things might not be as perfect. I can polish them a little bit. That looks good. I'm going to press Ctrl W. And that's now a polygroup. I'm going to grab the other polygroup. Or just grab... Oh. There we go. And I'm going to say delete hidden. Delete the other polygon. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to geometry. And we're going to do Z-remesher. So Z-remesher and Z-remesh. What this should do is should clean up a little bit of the elements. Not bad, but not great. Let's go first to deformation. I'm going to do a little bit of polish by features. Oh, wait, we have a mask. That's my bad. So polish by features. Not great. Let's go geometry. Let's try Z-remesh. See how this works. Not bad, not great, but not bad. We can work with this. And then we're going to go to dynamic subdivision. We're going to turn dynamic subdivision on. No subdivision here, but we're going to use a thickness to, as you can see, create this sort of shape right here. And we're going to hit apply. Now we go back to our other tool. This one right here. Nope. This one right here. And we're going to say subtool, append. And we're going to append this new plane that we've created. I just need to see where it is. There we go. We're going to go to this area. And the first thing we need to do is we need to create or find the proper size. So I think something like, probably like this is fine. It's going to be like small face rather. And we just get it in there. Now, if we want to get the best result, a good idea might be to bend this thing. So we can go to this guy right here, go into bend arc. And we can bend it a little bit. Just so that the lines go a little bit more the way we want. Go back to Gizmo 3D. This thing is going to be going in there. And rotate it a little bit as well. Maybe not that much. Something like that. And technically, if we turn off this guys for just a second and we make this a subtraction, as you can see, we're going to be going through the pumpkin. Which is exactly what we want, right? So yeah, we got this. And now I'm just going to go and say main Boolean mesh. There we go. I'm going to delete this guy. And I'm also going to delete this guy. The reason I'm deleting this guys is because we now have the new polymesh today, which is this one. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control, or actually I'm going to go all the way down to polygroups. Because I did saw some polygons floating around. I'm going to say auto groups. Control Shift click. And as you can see, there's like a couple of points floating there. So just got them into a different polygroup, hide that polygroup. And then we say delete hidden to get rid of that polygroup. We Dynamesh with a high resolution, 600. Dynamesh. And there we go. We have our Boolean mesh. So now that we have this, we can go back to the other guy, which was this guy right here. And we can say subtool, append, and we append the last U-mesh, which is this one right here. There we go. Let's get rid of light Boolean. We don't need it anymore. We can go to our very cool thing. And of course, if we were to render this, you can see that all of the inner side of the pumpkin is going to be looking quite nice because it's carved, right? Like we can actually see inside of the pumpkin. How are we doing on time? Because I think we have very oh, I think I just have like 1 minute. Okay, if I just have 1 minute, I'm gonna use Stream Dynamic. Let's go to 600 resolution Dynamesh. And oh my god, the sneeze is betraying me at the last minute. There we go. And I'm just gonna use my Trim Dynamic to soften some of this borders that look really, really sharp. Of course, I would expect the borders to look quite sharp after a knife was used to carve them in. But I just wanna, again, add a little bit of realism. If you've seen carved, what's the word? Carved pumpkins like this one, you might have remembered that certain parts are like slightly thinner, like they carved the thickness a little bit of the out of the pumpkin, so that when you place a light or a candle inside of it, it works kind of like surface scattering, where you're gonna see a little bit more of the pumpkin thanks to that, which we could technically replicate. Unfortunately, we're not gonna have time for that today. But if you want me to do it, that might be a good weekend exercise. A little bit of Arnold or Substance Painter material and rendering. There we go. There we go. Now I'm just gonna do a very quick. I know I know I'm like 1 minute over the time, but I'm just gonna do a like very quick detail. Pumpkins usually have this sort of like leathery effect, I guess. I'm gonna go spray, and I'm gonna just grab like a Alpha 60. I'm gonna do C sub and a low intensity, and just throw in sort of like skin texture all over the skull, or all over the pumpkin. And there we go. 30 minutes, guys. A speed sculpt of a very nice Yak-O-Lantern. As I mentioned, we can eventually like render this with a nice like light inside, proper materials, proper textures. But I want to make these videos entertaining and useful for you. Hopefully some of the techniques that I show you to create this speed sculpt are of interest to you, my friends. I'm probably going to be doing a like cool looking render inside of Maya for this one, because I need to clickbait a little bit on the thumbnail to make sure you guys see the videos and you're interested in the content. But I think it might be a good idea to explore that on the weekend. So instead of having like 5 days, if we do 7 days and I add like 1 texturing and 1 rendering for this asset, I think we can make it work. So let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully you like this video, guys. Thank you very much, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'll see you back tomorrow.